Hello, everyone. My name is Monica Carter, and this presentation is on my overall view of this course and what I have learned, photos I have used, and some questions to consider. In week one, we talked about the community in which we live. In this assignment, I included the following with the photos, as you can see before you. The Johnson City Public Library as view of the Johnson City, my current city home. The other photo and reference I used for this assignment, phase one, is the Bristol Motor Speedway in Bristol, Tennessee. This place is huge. Every year they have the NASCAR races. That's what they're famous for. Next is Boone Dam, which is located in Washington County, Tennessee. This is the highlight during the summer where people come to cool off and relax for the day. Then we have downtown Jonesboro. This place is considered the oldest town in Tennessee, which attracts a lot of travelers and visitors. And finally, the last reference I used for this assignment is downtown Johnson City. This is part of the city where people go to get out of the smaller cities that surround it. Also, with that assignment, we talked about the Community Environmental Center, as well as the environment news. In Unit 2, the biodiversity lost, in simple terms, refers to the decline or disappearance of biological diversity. While that phase, I included the following photos, as you see before you. On the other hand, biomes is different from biodiversity. Biomes, in simple terms, is an area that is classified according to the species that live within that location or locations. The photo in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen is a photo of Arizona, and I will explain that photo later in the presentation. Well, in Unit 3, we talked about the natural change versus the influence change with the impacts of climate change, and the photo below shows the climate change in our local lake that is connected to Boone Dam, which is the same one I mentioned earlier. In week 4, we spoke about the energy sources flow and sustainability. As I talked about the newest renewable energy source that will be at Bright Ridge and how it should be completed in 2024. Although I spoke about my personal point of view on my household and our household energy consumption. While in week 5, we talked about our ecological footprint, not only the discussion post, but as well as our assignment for that week, from the recycling to the air quality and pollution within my community. While in Unit 6, the topic was farm to fork, and our discussion post and the assignment was based on the environmental health risk within my community, what risk we could control and what risk we could not, along with the hazards within our home and community, such as biological, chemical, and physical risks. Finally, the steps that we could take to increase the environmental health. Finally, this week, our topic was on more ways to live a sustainable community, as a discussion topic was on being steward. The word stewardship is the responsible use and the protection of the natural environment through conservation and sustainable practices. How can you educate those around you and on how to protect the environment and its resources? Well, I have proven that I have learned a lot in this course. I'll also can educate others on recycling, littering, and the simple things a person can do to improve the overall environment. My fiance was brushing his teeth the other night, and I remember sticking my head in the door and telling him to shut the water off as he brushes his teeth. He first looked at me a little off than usual, and then he turned the water off, and I told him how much water he wastes by not turning off the water while he brushes his teeth. I was still able to educate him on this topic, let alone the time I can educate on others on things I have learned when I'm not tied down on schoolwork and start doing the things and other things the way I used to. Discuss ways to live more sustainably, include a minimum of 5 ways I listed in my assignments this week of the multiple different ways that I can live a normal lifestyle, but being sustainable at the same time. For this, I will name the top 5 ways I know that you could use at home right now to save the environment of its goods and services. Those include things such as eating less meat. As I talked about earlier in the course, my family being a vegetarian home. Using reusable items or alternatives, recycle and reuse things, growing your own produce. And lastly, saving energy will help reduce the carbon emissions into the air by turning off appliances that are no longer in use. Create a sustainable community. What does a sustainable community look like? I feel like a sustainable community will look more protective of the environment, enhancing the damage that is being done to those whom do the damage. This example would be if everyone within your community eats the exact same thing, only going to the store or run errands if they absolutely have to and not when they want to. Unfortunately, for most, this would not be true due to the unhappy people within the community who would want to be different. And I couldn't agree with them more because I would like to be different myself. As I promised, I will go back to the previous topic, but a sustainable community in my eyes would be something like a absolute perfect community. The photo that I included earlier of Arizona, knowing I live in Tennessee in the first 2 weeks of this course, we're in the middle of traveling across the country to Arizona. I had nothing to go off of for this topic and for this specific assignment, so I had to take a photo of the environment around me. And I'm glad I did because that photo was stunning. In conclusion to this research and the overall course, I would say that I've learned a lot and that I can help others by educating them on this topic, as I could talk about all day long. For the first 2 units being my community, the biodiversity loss and the biome examples within my assignments, in week 3 and 4 being the habitat loss shown in the photos, to the renewable solar panels being installed in my community, week 5 and 6 being farm to fork, and the recycling centers and how difficult it was for me to find them. In the finals week, week 7 and 8, being the final phase of this course, this presentation, and the final discussion post in this course. Every week, I would always get excited to move to the next topic. As I told Professor Carly Davidson before, I love the environment, and this is where I can relate, and I could talk about these things all day long. I just tend to ramble. With that being said, here's my conclusion. I wish you all the best, staying safe, making good choices. And I do apologize because I do have a sinus infection going on and I'm having to take antibiotics. So I do apologize if it's really hard for you to hear me right now. But like I said, rambling on. These are my references I used for this post and for my capstone, I guess you'd say capstone presentation. So with that being said, this is Monica Carter signing off. Thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful day, staying safe, healthy, and wishing you a Merry Christmas. Thank you. Bye-bye.